Yo, what's good with y'all? It's Keymajor back with another video for y'all today. I've been loving the Cubeatz samples, so I got another one for y'all today explaining why their samples are so iconic and why everyone loves to use them. So let's get straight to the video. So I got this FLP in here, obviously fitting that Cubeatz type of vibe. But the first layer I added is this vintage upright main piano. And as you guys can already tell, I have halftime on it to slow it down, give it that dark gritty feel. This is without any effects. But for this chord, it was very simple. I laid down my root note, which was E, and then I brought it up 7. So then I layered this B, and I just took the same E and then up an octave, just layering the notes. And then lastly, all I did on top of this E is I just did a very simple minor chord. E, count of 3, 1, 2, 3 to G, and then up 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, back to B. So you can basically just take this B again and just pitch it up an octave. And like I said earlier, all I did is I changed the arrangement and the way that the notes were actually playing by literally just strumming it like this. And that sounded nice, but it didn't sound as dark as I wanted it to sound. So literally all I did was add a note under this G, which was F sharp. Lastly, all I did is I wanted to make the pattern a little more unique, give it a little bit more variety. So I just chopped up the bass note and I brought it down 4. As you can tell already, for the second half, all I did is I copied the same pattern. I just moved the B up to C. So I added halftime on here to really lower the quality of the piano and obviously slow it down. On top, I added this tremolator. As you can tell, it has this wave effect with the volume where it's kind of dipping down, but it became a lot less noticeable when I add the halftime on top because it's just slowing it down. I had a sketch cassette on here and I made this guitar riff preset, so you guys should just copy this preset and save it for yourself. As a lot of you guys know, Cubeatz is really well known for their vintage dark samples, so I really recommend a lot of these effects to give it that feeling. Same with the RC20, I picked the Vinyl 4 preset. I didn't change anything. This is making it more mono. Messing with the stereo of your samples is also very important when it comes to mimicking that Cubeatz sound. And then lastly, to make it sound more vintage, I added this EQ to take out some of the highs. So next, on top of that, I added this vintage toy piano and I went into the presets and I picked the orchestral placement preset. And a lot of Cubeatz's melodies are very simple, very minimalistic. They just focus a lot on sound selection, which is what I did here. I picked a good sound and then just picked a very simple melody. Cubeatz uses a lot of repetitive, catchy top lines, which is what I did here. A very simple melody, very repetitive to get stuck in the listener's brain. As far as the effects, I added ambience reverb with the dark marimba room preset. Reverb is very important when it comes to mimicking that Cubeatz vintage sound, and a lot of the times it's a lot of room presets. So whatever, it doesn't really matter what reverb you're using, but you want to look for these room presets, and this really helps mimic that specific sound of someone actually being in a room and recording the instruments live, and it just brings a lot of realism. Lastly, I went to the same bank and I picked this weird organ and another extremely simple melody, just very good sound selection. Now this sound is tucked in the background a lot. I just added it to fill in those empty gaps and make the sample more full. For the effects, I just have a pancake on here, panning left and right. Lastly, I added it with this loop from Splice from Owl Hug. For the effects, I just had this pancake, and then down here on the EQ, I just made it a little more vintage, a little more old by taking out the lows and then removing some of those highs. And then I exported all that, and then you have the first layer. As you can tell, I did two things after exporting it. Number one is I pitched it up by 300 cents, and then I also chopped it to have a very unique range. Now I'm going to go into the second half of the sample where I just added a tiny bit of textures. I added this vocal loop from Splice. Very simple, but has a huge effect on the sample of bringing it to life by using those real organic instruments like vocals and stuff. EQ, just cutting out some of the harsh frequencies and then cutting out the highs, so it was a little more old sounding. You can see me cutting out the highs a lot throughout this whole video because that's really a huge tip to give it that vintage Cubeatz type of sound. Then I went into the Owl Hug one-shot pack and I just added this very simple chord. And like I said earlier, it's a very simple melody, just one chord, but the sound selection is very high quality. And then lastly, just two small percussion details. I've said this in my other videos, Cubeatz loves to add percussion. These come from the same Hug one-shot pack. And then lastly on the master, I just had the sound shifter pitching it down too. And then here's the final sample. So that's pretty much it. The biggest takeaways from this video is simplicity is key. A lot of Cubeatz samples are very minimalistic, but they just have such a good sound selection. You want to spend a lot of time finding good sounds. If you are in need of new sounds and you struggle with sound selection, click the first link in the description down below. It's perfect for anyone who's struggling with sound selection. It comes with 2 bonus exclusive tutorials over sound selection, melodies, drums, and it comes with a bunch of fire drum and one-shots and a whole analog lab with amazing sounds. First link in the description down below. It's currently 50% off. I really hope you guys did enjoy and learn something new. If you guys did, make sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, see more videos. So I hope you guys enjoy, and I'll see you on the next video.